When New Zealanders look at buying shares, will every New Zealander who wants shares get shares?
Well, that's what we're working our way through, obviously, at the moment, but the intention is for that retail distribution, the opportunity for mums and dads to buy, to be absolutely in front of the queue. They're my number one priority, and we'll make sure that we'll be setting that at a level where it's affordable for a lot of New Zealanders.
But then legislatively, they're not at the front of the queue.
There doesn't need to be a legislation. The issue is how it's actually handled by the managers who manage the process. They're the investment banks. We've had extensive discussions with them, made it absolutely crystal clear what our expectations are. So that's an administrative matter, not something you put in legislation.
Is that how do you price it though? How do you price it?
Well, the pricing is subject to what the value of those shares are. Now, as I said earlier, there's arguably a discount because of the way that we're keeping majority control, but there's how you actually sell, how you build the book, if you like, of who gets to buy those shares is a matter very much for the government and the way the managers fulfil their obligations to the government. What we've said is, look, when it comes to mum and dad, if they want to buy 1,000 shares, whatever it might be, I want to make sure that they get their allocation, they're not scaled, and they're at the front of the queue.
Does the front of the queue mean that New Zealanders will be able to get all the shares they want before any overseas people buy them?
They may be able to, yes.
Would you buy them yourself?
Well, I would, but because I have a blind trust, I don't go buy any shares at the moment. But yes, I would. I think they're great investments.
But there's no stopping the on selling to foreigners in the future. So it could be that it could go into 40% of foreign ownership at some stage down the track, couldn't it? Or do you not believe that?
Well, technically, but there's no evidence to support that would be the case. For a start off, a lot of the holders will be people like Kiwi Saver accounts, the New Zealand Super Fund, ACC. They're long-term New Zealand investors, as would iwi be. Secondly, if you look at things that have floated, New Zealand Stock Exchange 10 years on is still 98% New Zealand owned. Air New Zealand, the floating part of their shares at the moment, already largely exclusively New Zealand owned. And actually, the issue for New Zealand investors is not how quickly they can flick on their shares, it's their capacity to actually buy some decent shares, because there's not a lot floated on the exchange. So I don't accept the argument that they're all of a sudden going to abandon ship and somehow not be able to see value that a foreigner would see.